Well, between the Wizards and Cowboys, I would say that today has been an interesting day of gaming news, and I am super excited. Today is October 18th, 2016. My name is Razzle. I am joined by Shakezilla TV for episode 34 of the Prattlecast.
I would like to point out this is the second time we've tried to do this.
Yeah,
This was not our first attempt. We did record last week, and
yeah,
I regaled you with tales of Disney World. And
yeah.
unfortunately, I'm not gonna do that again. So Disney was great, guys, and you should all go. It is worth it. But the recording got kind of I don't really know what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, we
It
had
just
some technical issues with the podcast
it
last
was a
week, and
mess.
I mean, it was a long podcast. We went about 2 hours just talking about Disney, and that
Yeah.
was that was
So
it.
maybe it's better that it never sees the light of day.
I don't
Maybe
know,
maybe that was more
maybe
for us.
maybe in a couple of weeks we'll go back to Disney and we'll just do it again. We'll
Yeah,
be like, yeah,
we
let's
can
do
be
it.
like, oh yeah, let's just like kind of go over it again with less love. We'll think about it. So what's this? What were you saying about Wizards and Cowboys? I understand. I'm pretty sure I know what the Cowboys is about, but what's this
Oh
Wizard
yeah.
business?
The Wizard business is the fact that they have released, or I guess technically the word is re-release, but it's the Harry Potter Lego collection. It's exclusive to PS4 and it's available as of today. And I'm just going to say this: I look forward to playing this game, and I wish I had someone who could come over here and play it with me. But unfortunately, I do not. I am a sad, sad, lonely wizard.
I'll come out for a weekend. We'll just we'll just be vegetables playing some Harry Potter. See, now you like Harry Potter. Like now you appreciate the Harry Potter universe.
Well, you mean the Wizarding World universe, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter?
Yeah, but before you did the whole Universal thing and rewatched all the movies, like you were less Harry Potter.
Yeah, I was much less Harry
You
Potter.
were
I
much
did.
less Harry Potter. And then you
Yeah.
you got a wand and shit and now you're all about Harry Potter.
Well, let me explain something. Okay, my introduction to Harry Potter is probably the reason why I stayed away from it and I didn't enjoy it at all for so long. I remember in elementary, I guess. Wait, no, high school. High school. My art teacher would end the class by reading from Harry Potter, and he had this very over dramatic voice, and it just completely turned me off to the whole thing. Because when he started using words like these words that J.K. Rowling came up with, like muggles and all these other things, I was just sitting there listening to this like, oh, this is ridiculous. I don't want anything to do with this, because it was kind of like that environment plus his voice plus these words I'd never heard. It just completely ruined it. Now, when they started coming out as movies, I had a lot of friends who were huge Harry Potter fans, like in terms of the books. So they were watching the movies all the time. And the problem was, usually I would come in during the middle of the film when they were already watching it, and I would be lost. And because these are very complicated movies, let me just say,
Yeah, they're not. You can't just walk into the middle of them and like expect to have any idea what's going on. That's not how it works.
and I have such a hard time understanding the characters because I have to watch things like Sherlock. I have to watch that with subtitles, or I won't know what's going on.
Is it
I
the
th-
accents?
I
Is
think it
it?
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it is, and it's I think I was talking about this just the other week, but
they're
yeah,
mumbly.
well, I don't know about that. I just think it's that they have a very fast way of speaking, and it's hard for me to grasp it because the problem is on me, not on them. I want to make that clear. I'm just not used to the accent, and so therefore it's hard for me to follow. But when I had the subtitles on, as I was telling you the other day, I watched the whole all eight movies of the Harry Potter universe, and I
Hmm.
watched them with subtitles back to back to back, and I finally understood what was going on, and I was really enjoying it. And so yeah, now I'm definitely looking forward to the Fantastic Beasts movie and where to find them. It's going to be coming out next month.
Is that based off of another book she wrote?
No, it's going to be, it's kind of like a prequel series because it takes place in like the early 1900s, and it's made specifically for the screen. And I think they've said they're going to do like 5 films of
But
this
it's the
series.
Harry Potter world.
Yeah, it's got wizards and all that stuff. And I think they're going to be introducing like the American version of the wizarding stuff as well in these films. And it'll have something with Dumbledore when he was younger, I think. So they'll have some stuff going on, tying it all together.
I mean, I'm about it. I'll do it.
It's funny because like 10 years, 11 years ago, I remember when the last movie or the last book came out, and I had a friend that was like, oh, man, I kept like, this is the end. This is like the last Harry Potter anything. And I just remember saying, no, J.K. Rowling has a gold mine here. There is no way she isn't going to keep milking it. And I don't blame her. I do the same thing because you've got this huge universe with a lot of lore that you can do a lot of things with. So obviously make more stories. I'm just surprised it took so long to get here.
Yeah, like as long as she doesn't end up like selling out and it's horrible, as long as she can still come up with good content, just I would ride that train till the end of time.
Yeah, don't go the George Lucas route.
No, don't make it bad. Don't make it bad. But she's got so much to work with, and so much of all the stuff from the movies and books is left unexplored. So there's a lot that she can do.
Not only that, but they also have that play. There's a
Hmm.
play that's based on the child of Harry Potter and like him going to school. And so it deals with like, it's kind of like a next generation thing, but it's a play. It's made for the theater. And there's also that. So there's a lot of stuff. Like, so she's gone into the theater route. She's going into the film route, and I know she's also released some book things as well. So, it seems like now what I think they should do, I think she should release a storyline specific to video games and, tap that market.
I mean, she could, but I mean, maybe she's content with Lego Harry Potter.
Well, no, I mean they released games based on the movies. Like they released like all of they were on PC, PS2.
Yeah, I had a couple of them, and I liked them. I thought they were fun, but I wanted to be a wizard. So,
I'm really surprised there was never a Harry Potter MMO because it's ripe for the picking. It's perfect for that type of gameplay.
I feel like when I was younger, it was talked about. Like, I feel like it was a conversation, or maybe it was just a conversation I had with other nerds online. But I thought it was an idea for a minute. I
I
know
remember
they
having the conversation too. So I think it's just a conversation people had, but it just never happened. But yeah,
nerds united over it, but she was just like, no, it doesn't need to happen.
no,
She probably
no.
doesn't see the value in it.
She probably doesn't see the value in the video gaming industry. She probably doesn't.
She honestly, she probably doesn't give a shit, and she
Probably.
doesn't know about it, so she doesn't care. She's just like, whatever.
I think people should just be thankful for what they're getting right now and just enjoy the new film. And like I said, it comes out next month. I can't wait to see it, but I'm probably gonna
I
have to
didn't even
wait
know about it.
How did you not know about it?
I don't keep up with real life.
Well, I didn't know about it till like a month ago when I first started following Harry Potter. So
Okay, so there you go. And
so
now I know. I mean, they have the only movie I'm excited for right now is the Assassin's Creed movie. And that comes out in December.
I didn't even know they were doing that. So.
That's been in the works for a long time. And I think it's going to be mostly based off the first 4 games, which I know you haven't played them, so it's fine.
Play
But
part 4.
it's going to be very exciting.
Play
Well,
part
no,
4 and
well, the first 4 games would be Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. Those are the first 4 games.
oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's the order. So I knew I knew when you said I've played the fourth one. I'm like, he has not played that one.
I didn't say I played the 4th one. I said I played part 4.
Yeah, you didn't though.
I did. I played Black Flag, which
That's
is
not.
called
That's
it's
not.
called Assassin's Creed 4
No.
Black Flag.
It's wrong. That's bad
I
advertising.
don't care. I was giving an accurate statement.
Well, it was
So.
wrong. But that's coming out in December, and that looks gorgeous. Like, it looks so on point with how the games look. I'm really excited for it.
I don't know. You got to be careful with those video game movies.
Well, like
'cause-
Hitman?
Well, I never saw that
Oh,
one.
you never saw the Hitman movie?
No.
It had what's his name? Timothy Oliphant was
Oh,
the
okay.
Hitman, so it was already doomed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, him as a hitman? Really? It was really bad. Like he had feelings and a love interest, and it was just, I mean, it didn't. But then again, the Hitman games are pretty lacking too, so I didn't know how they were gonna do a movie.
Well, they've been talking a little bit about Jurassic World 2 and how it's going to be darker than the
Ooh.
than the first one.
Oh. I mean, but how dark was the first one? I don't recall feeling darkness in that
No,
movie.
that's what I was about to say. I was like, well, anything could be darker than that movie. So
Was it the little raptors picking people up? Was it Indominus knowing how to climb? Like I don't know. What was so dark?
Indominus.
I mean, that's her name.
I know. I know.
I don't know what they're gonna do, but well, the Indominus Rex is dead now. Spoiler alert.
Well, I think they could like start it off. I think they should start off with like Doctor Wu in an office with black gloves on. He just has to have on black gloves, and he's to
Like
be
you can't
sitting
really
there
see his face, but he's like clicking his fingers. But,
as if we don't know who he is.
right, it's like, ooh, who's this mysterious man? And then he looks up. Hello.
I'm Doctor Wu.
They've already turned him into some villain.
Yeah.
Might as well go knee deep into it.
You know, they might as well, if they're going to do this, they might as well make him more like John Hammond was in the book. And then you could kind of have that element coming in. Because John Hammond in the book was such an evil asshole. And compared to who he is in the movie, which is just this
movie
lovable,
version, he's just kind of lovable and really stupid. You're just like, you have no
Yeah.
idea what you're doing.
He's like just this
Poor
gullible
thing.
old man. And you're like, how did this guy ever found this company? And then when you read the book, you're like, oh, no, this I understand.
It's like, this makes sense now.
Yeah, so I think if they do that with Wu, then okay. But even so, it's so weird seeing Doctor Wu as a bad guy like that. Like,
Are they bringing back our high-heeled redhead?
I hope not, but I imagine just because I said I hope not, they probably will.
Well, she's Pratt's love interest.
Well, I mean, shouldn't they give him a new love interest? I mean,
he should be the kind of man that doesn't settle down. I mean, and he doesn't seem like the type.
I mean, if they're going to bring back Pratt, then they need to give him someone new and have the storyline, because I don't really know what the story is going to be. I haven't really looked into it. I'm just
I mean, they
trying
never
to...
really had one. They didn't even really give him much of a character to work with, and they picked a good actor. It's like, yeah, he can be funny, he can be serious, but you didn't really give him much.
You know what I would do?
He's kind of frantically running through the whole film.
I'd find a way to get him to team up with Alan Grant and have the two of them as like this buddy cop movie.
See, but at this point, like, if they were like, hey, Grant, so we opened Jurassic World. I know you did. I know. I know. So we opened it. It failed. Grant's just like, I know. And I knew this would happen. I need you to come with me to the island for, whatever reason is needed at the time. And then he sees his old T-Rex buddy. Gets to see T-Rex all over again. And Grant gets to go on journeys. But he wouldn't want to be there.
Well, I mean, I think that's the least of their problems.
You'd
with
have to
making Jurassic
convince
World
him.
2. No, here's the thing. I don't think it would take much convincing for Sam Neill to sign on for it. And so that's the only thing you need to worry about. Don't worry about the story, because it's clear they don't give a shit after watching Jurassic World 1. They don't care about the story.
Yeah.
So,
no.
and that way you can have like this epic showdown between Dr. Wu and Alan Grant, and you have like bazookas in there. If we're going to go crazy, let's just go all out. And you're like, wait a minute, is this the same franchise where Alan Grant was this serious scientist and Dr. Wu was this likable scientist, geneticist who's only there for like a split second? And is this that same franchise that I'm watching with Dr. Wu with a mechanical arm shooting bazookas down at Alan Grant, who's got this huge scar on his face? And he's just like, he's got
screaming how he doesn't know how to quit.
I think this would work. I mean, if I'm inside of the business meeting here, I'm like, you know what, guys, we've already fucked it. Let's just keep going. Let's just make this a really over-the-top action movie at this point.
Well, that would mean Chris Pratt would now have to physically ride the raptors.
I'm okay with that.
He would need to be within the family of raptors riding them. They need to be saddling up.
It would be so goofy.
They need to have a dinosaur army that also helps them.
I know they were talking about that like back when there was going to be when the movie I think was going to have Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm, and they were talking about how some of the raptors were going to have like these weapons on them. Because I think they even touch on this in
What?
Jurassic World, but they don't actually do it necessarily, if I remember right. Yeah, but I just remember like hearing these rumors about the film and what they were going to be doing with it, and I remember hearing stuff like that and being like, "That's a terrible idea." But now
Well,
I'm like, you know what? I've seen Jurassic World. I've seen The Lost World. Everyone that ends with World has been bad. Let's just
yeah.
let's just call it Jurassic
Yeah.
Park 5.
Well, just if we just leave it at a number, I mean, maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, they didn't since they didn't really have much of a story going on. I don't think we're gonna bring back these two kids. These two kids are
Oh,
dead to Jurassic World. If they come back, I'm confused because they had no purpose to begin with.
no.
They were just kids. You had this little boy crying for most of the movie. It was really great. And they didn't really give us much story at the end. Like there wasn't, it's just we killed Indominus Rex, which was the way that all happened was also very weird. But you had that whole showdown, and then it just ends. People
Yeah, and,
leave.
and like I said before, like one of my things I least like about it, I know some people like this for some reason, but one of the things I really hated about the film is at the very end, because the raptor and the T-Rex, they both work together to kill this Indominus Rex, and then they just look at each other and they walk away. Like they have this
Yeah.
mutual respect thing going on.
It's like they fist bumped at the end. Like they're
Yeah,
just like, "You got it, man.
and
Thanks."
look, I've played the aisle. I know that's not how it happens. Okay, that T-Rex
It's a
looks
very
at you.
uneasy relationship.
He takes a bite out of you, and that's it.
Like the
It's
moment you
over.
guys are done killing that Indominus, the Rex is looking at you like, "Well, you're here. I'm hungry. Get a little closer."
I can still go. Can you go? I can go.
I think there's only one raptor left at the end of that, and he just kind of walks off into the distance. I
Never
do
to be
believe
seen again.
at one point doesn't the raptor make eye contact with Chris Pratt in like an understanding gaze?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember.
It's so odd. Like I liked the idea of him being able to like bond with them and like being the alpha in the pack and raising them. Like that made sense to me. And like how it was a really uneasy relationship with them the whole time. But at no point do I believe a raptor's gonna turn and look at you like, I understand, Dad. I'm gonna save you. I just don't feel like a raptor would ever do that. But I mean, they could really go anywhere with it because they left us with nothing.
Yeah, I mean, they ended it on a weird note. And, I mean, I don't know. I just hope they do something completely different like they should and just figure something out. I wish they paid a little bit more attention to some canonical storyline going on instead of just turning it into the action movie it has become. But that's it is what it is. I'll enjoy what it is for what it is, especially now that I know what it is going into it. When I went into Jurassic World, I don't know, I wasn't really expecting anything, but I think I thought in the back of my head that they might actually try to do things better than
Mhm.
uh, Jurassic Park 2, Lost World, whatever, which by that point was the worst in the series. And now I'm kind of split. I still think it probably is the worst,
I
only
mean,
because
it's real bad.
it is. It
Cause
is. It's bad.
it's where did Ian Malcolm go? Where did he go?
He isn't in that movie. I'll
Where
tell you that.
where did he go?
There's Jeff Goldblum. I see Jeff Goldblum, but where's
I see
Dr.
Jeff
Malcolm?
Goldblum loud and clear. Where's Malcolm? Where, I mean, and Vince Vaughn. There's just so much in that movie.
Yeah, it's just bleh.
Yeah, it's bad.
I saw that on Amazon and Hulu, they've got the new, or one of the new Paranormal Activity films. I think part 5, is it? I don't know.
What, like if you've got like Prime or whatever?
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
I
I
might be
was like,
going on a
ooh,
journey.
yeah, because I'm gonna
Ooh.
have to see that because that's one of the ones I haven't seen. The only ones I haven't seen are the two that came out after the one that has the computer, like the Skype chat type calls going
With the
on.
girl and the boyfriend or whatever?
I don't remember. I think she had blonde hair. It had like the Xbox stuff in there with the
Yeah,
lights.
it's the blonde bitch
Yeah,
and her boyfriend who's always like, "Oh, let me come over."
and I think that was part 4 because part 3 was the 80s, part 2 was the sister character, and part 1 was the original, obviously. But then I think they came up with 2 more, One of them came out right after 4, and the new one, part 5, is now on Prime. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to see that this weekend or something.
I feel like I've only seen the one with the girl on the computer. I don't know if the one with the sheet in the kitchen is a different one.
Yeah, that's part 3.
And
That's
then
the 80s one.
is it also a different one where there's like a house across the street that has something to do with what's happening in the house?
That might be part 2 that you're thinking of, but I don't really know for
Like I haven't
sure
watched any of them in
because
so long. I feel like I have to sit through all this garbage again. I might. I might just sit through 5 movies.
yeah.
But I'll watch the 5th one if it's on Prime. Hell,
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to know much with these movies.
no.
It is what it is.
Spooky.
I've liked some of them. I've disliked others. Most particularly, I hated the first one. I thought the first one was such a terrible film.
Mm-hmm.
Like people kept talking to me like, "Oh yeah, it's a great film." I watched this thing.
It's not.
Now part 2, on the other hand, was actually really good. I enjoyed part 2. Part 2 was everything that part 1 should have been. So they actually brought in real actors. They had actual effects going on. It was a much better budget for a film, obviously. And part 3 was really good. Part 4 was okay. I don't think part 4 was better than part 3 or part 2. It just kind of was okay. It was better than the first one, but it was just kind of like, eh. It had some new clever stuff they did. So part 5, who knows?
Well, I'm gonna have to check it out now.
Oh, yes.
That's on my agenda. I also have to check out that Lights Out movie.
Lights Out.
Because when it came out in theaters, I had like 3 friends talking about it, saying how it was really scary, and then I just saw it on Twitter all over again.
What's that about?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I assume it has something to do with the lights going out, which is very spooky, scary. I'm afraid of the dark, though. So apparently, if you're someone who's afraid of the dark, it's not the movie for you. So I don't know. I have nothing to say about it. I just need to see it.
Yeah, I don't need to see that.
Yeah, you do.
I need to stay away from that.
It's gonna be real good, though. I remember, well, was it last week when we originally tried to record, you had mentioned the Friday the 13th?
Yeah, I guess we should mention that because the episode never happened. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Friday the 13th. It has been delayed to 2017, which personally I think means it's going to come out in January, personally, because that's the next Friday the 13th is in January 2017. And they're delaying it, but they're adding some cool stuff, including single player mode, which is going to be interesting. They said it's going to have like some mission based objectives that are some of them based on the movies and some of them will be original stuff. They've also announced that one of the new maps will be from part 2, which really excites me because part 2 is my favorite Friday the 13th film. So I'm really excited about that. Anything related to part 2, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And yeah, so, oh yeah, the other thing was Tommy Jarvis will be a playable character.
I was going to mention that because when I heard that, I was like, that's pretty cool.
And, I feel like they've been hinting at that because they've had that extra seat in the cabin they've released because they had like all the seats for all the counselors. And then there's an extra seat and everybody was like, is that Tommy Jarvis?
What, it's not like a counselor seat?
Well, I mean, there's like each place has like a reserved sign. And so they've had they had 8 reserved signs plus the extra one. And everybody knew that they'd announced, or was it 10 plus 1? I can't remember. But they had announced originally how many counselors there was going to be, either 8 or whatever. And then there was an extra one. And so everybody was like, what's that mean? Is there going to be another character? And so it seems like there will. We don't know which version of Tommy Jarvis it is. Most people think it will be the one from part 6 because of the way the character looks on the announcement with they've got like a little graphic that looks like the jacket he wore in part 6.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd like to see part 5, even though I know most people would disagree with me on that. But I would rather have part 5 Tommy, but that's all cool. But yeah, and it also that we don't know like how he would be interacting in the game. Like I imagine he'd be like an unlockable that you get if you do a certain thing in the game.
Yeah, I doubt he's something we're just gonna have.
Right.
Like,
I think
we're
it'll
gonna have
be
to
like a
earn
hero
Tommy.
level up or something like that.
Yeah. Either we have to earn him or he's just something we can possibly be sometimes. He might not even be a choice. He might just be something we get at random.
Right.
So.
Which is fine.
I mean, I'm fine with it. And I'm sure we'll end up getting more characters from movies. Because I feel like he's not going to be the only one.
I don't know because I think they have to get like rights to each one individually.
Oh,
So
right. I
I
keep
don't.
forgetting. Like, they have to. It's also the actors, too.
Yeah, so I
Because
don't
they're taking their
know.
likeness. So that's going to cost more money.
And see, that makes me wonder, would it be Corey Feldman? Because I imagine Corey Feldman would have no problem with it because he's such a huge fan of the franchise. But I don't know. I imagine part six also, like part six, Tommy might also not have a problem. Part five, though, I don't think he would do it. He's the one who went off and found religion and didn't want anything to do with the series, you
He's
know?
like, oh, I'm embarrassed by what I've done.
And, okay, whatever.
Well,
But
fuck him.
exactly.
No,
Even though
fuck that guy.
I liked his look better than I liked the one from part six. But, neither one of them was the original Tommy anyway. And I'm not even a Tommy Jarvis fan. I don't even like the character. But if I
But
had to pick
if
one,
we're talking about preference,
yeah. See,
yeah.
now I think they should also try to get some of the lead females in the game, like the ones from part one, two, three, and put them in there instead. But whatever, it's cool. I get it.
I think they'll just get whatever they can get their hands on. Honestly, because I think it's gonna come down to money. Because I know a lot of people were, well, from everything I've seen on Twitter, I feel really bad because people are bitching them out for delaying the game. Like people are going nuts. Like people are asking for refunds, and they're very nice about giving the
Or
information.
refunds.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I want to be refunded. I don't want this. Like I don't want to back this game anymore. And they're like, oh well, just go to this link here, and we can help you from there. Sorry. Like they like apologize profusely, and I feel bad because people are like, no, I'm backing out of this. Like I've already had to wait so long, and now you're telling me I have to wait again just because you want to add single player.
That's not the only reason why they're delaying it though. I'm pretty confident that they knew this was coming up and that they wanted to add single player and Tommy Jarvis and all this stuff beforehand. But I think the reason they're delaying it is because they've encountered some issues they need to fix. And so to make up for that, they're offering all these new free things. Like somebody else was bringing this up. I don't remember who it was. It was probably one of the YouTubers. But they had mentioned that you're not going to find developers do that very often. Like when a developer delays something, they don't offer you something as a freaking
Right.
thank.
They're just like, oh, whatever. Deal
Yeah,
with
they're just
it.
like, well, it'll be delayed. And the other thing on that is, you know what? I mean, this was a fan passion project, and you just want it to be rushed out. I mean, these people are taking their time. If they're looking at it and they're like, guys, we need more time to make this a better version of the game. I'm like, do it, because they're also releasing console versions of the game, and you can't just patch all of those things in the way you can with a PC game.
Hmm.
But whatever.
Well, yeah, because
I'm cool
I
with it.
guess they're not releasing a beta on the consoles.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I was reading on Twitter, people were also angry about that and wanted a refund because they couldn't play it.
Okay.
They're like, well, if I can't play the beta on console, and then Wes actually was answering them, and he's like, we never said there would be a beta on the
Right.
consoles. He's like, it was made for the PC. He's like, so everything's gonna be there first. He's like,
And
that's where it's gonna
people
be.
people need to realize that if they made a beta for the consoles, if I'm not mistaken, they would have to make a whole new build of the game just to get the beta out. Or not a whole
Hmm.
new build, but they'd have to specifically design it that way. Whereas the PC, is a little easier, I think, to
I think it's
develop.
easier to work with
Right. And
than it
also
is
because
for console.
because you have to remember, like, they haven't even probably submitted anything to Sony or Microsoft to get it on there yet. So you'd have to do that in order to get the beta going too. And I mean,
And
I really don't.
I just feel like it's a lot harder to cut apart the game for a beta on the console, and
Not only that,
it's a lot of extra work.
and I think you probably also have to maneuver the political realities of Sony and Microsoft if you're trying to get a beta released. And whereas on a PC, you can just release it
Right.
because nobody's there to police that. I mean, hell, look at some of the crap that's come out on Steam.
Oh God, yeah, I know.
So yeah, I mean, it's easier to get it out there. You can get the immediate feedback, which is what they need, and then they can make the game better for when it comes out on console and PC. So I think people who are complaining about this are probably just a bunch of fucking morons anyway, and I don't even know why we're wasting time on them. But the fact is
Because it
this.
frustrates me, Razzle.
I
Because I
know,
need to
but
share it with you.
I understand that. I understand that. But I'm just saying that, like, when it comes to developers, if they say they need more time, give them more time because they know what they're talking about.
When you gotta figure, I'm gonna go ahead and say that more than likely, most of the people that have been following this game and have been backing it and keeping up with it are huge fans of the movies. I doubt there's a lot of people out there that are looking at the game just because, oh, this is a game that's coming out.
Right.
I don't see it. I think it's a very fan heavy fan service game. People that aren't into the movies aren't really going to look at the game as much. So for you to be a big fan of the movies and be waiting for this game and then turn around and be like, well, never mind, I'm just irritated now because you're making me wait for something that you love and put so much time and work into, it just irritates me.
Well, to change gears here real fast, and it's something that doesn't irritate me. And in fact, it was a lot of fun. But I just wanted to mention here, we watched a movie this past weekend on Friday. We watched Zootopia. my brain just went
I was
frozen.
waiting.
Okay, we watched Zootopia, and I'm going to be totally honest. Like when you said you wanted to watch Zootopia like weeks ago, I was thinking, really? Because I wasn't really into it. Because here's the thing, like I remember watching like all these Pixar movies as they were coming out. I've never been into any of them. I wasn't into Despicable Me. I wasn't into any of them.
Well, this is Disney.
Well, yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. It's like the new cartoon type things that I've seen. I haven't been into them at all.
Yeah,
And
most of
I
them
knew the
aren't very good.
And I knew the Zootopia looked like those things, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna give it a chance. And I will say that I really loved this movie, like a lot. And
thank God. I got so worried.
But no, I mean, I thought it was very well put together. It was entertaining. The characters were funny. It had a lot of cute little moments in there. And yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, but I was like, yeah, you know what? This is actually a really good movie. In fact, I wanted to watch it again right after we finished it, but I was kind of burning up because I had some air conditioning issues this past weekend.
Razzle's on fire, essentially. Yeah. he's been on fire for the duration of the week. But no, I'm in love with that movie. And the more you watch it, like the more stuff you pick up, like the stuff that they say, like you pick up all these jokes that like none of the kids are gonna understand. Because I don't think most cartoons are made for kids. I think they're just made for grown-ups. And the more I watch it, the more I fall in love with it. I love Zootopia.
And plus, it has my future wife, Jennifer Goodwin. She is in this movie.
You don't need to be rude. You do not need to do this right now.
Oh my God.
I'm about to freak out.
Oh my God.
Jason Bateman looks very good in that movie.
Oh yes.
He's very, very handsome fox.
Oh yes.
And there's totally like a fox bunny relationship happening there at the end.
There is.
I mean, there's no way for that. Like, it's one thing like to depict like a good friendship, like, you know, we became good friends. Like at the end of that movie, they're together, and I'm okay with it, but at the same time, I'm like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work.
I don't know. It kind of works.
I mean, in Zootopia world, it's just considered like interracial.
Yes, so. Yeah.
Since like in Zootopia, there's like prey and predator.
So will they be releasing a Zootopia 2, and when?
Well, if it goes the way of the Lion King, yes, and it'll be about 10 years.
And it'll be probably awful.
It'll be very bad. What if they have little fox bunny babies?
Can you imagine by the time we get to Zootopia 14, and you'll have like the musical numbers at the beginning? Remember Land Before Time 14?
I was just thinking of it. I'm like, oh, you mean that movie we made it 10 minutes into and just ran from?
Whoa. Now you made it 10 minutes into and ran from. I was willing to go the entire distance with the film, but I did not. I stopped with you.
You know what, though? Because here's the thing. If Razzle really wanted to watch that movie, he would have been like, Shake, we are going to sit down and we are going to power through this. But I walked away from it. I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving. He didn't even say anything. He just laughed, and you left too.
Well, I had to leave because it was just me in there at that point.
Yeah, but you could have been like, no, come back. Let's work through this together.
No, I would have only said that if you had said you were thinking about leaving. Then I would have said, no, let's watch the movie. But you had just left. Like, you physically left the room, so to speak, by just leaving. And I'm not going to sit there and watch the movie by myself.
It was really bad. To go from the first one Like the very first Land Before Time to that shit, that was horrible.
Well, to be fair, like we were gonna watch because we wanted to watch all of them. That was the
Well, yeah,
original
that would have
plan.
been good because most of them are good.
But they only had two of them on Netflix, and that was part 1 and part 14. Okay,
Like,
so there
which doesn't make sense. Good job,
there was
Netflix. You failed.
this whole string of storylines that we've missed out on, and yeah, because like 14, like Littlefoot's father is suddenly in the picture.
Yeah,
Braun.
we're rescuing Braun, the Brontosaurus. LOL. There's like this danger floof pink monster that they're friends with.
Yeah,
Like it's all very strange, and all the voice actors are different except Spike,
yeah.
because all he does is go. So he was easy to keep the same. And I think they talked about there was a whole song about Spike eating like smelly shit.
Yes, there was, and they worked the yep 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 tagline into a song, and I think at that point I was like, oh my god, this is gonna
Yeah,
be awful.
they've
This is so bad
they
right now.
milked that cow to death. Like it wasn't good. But
I don't even think 4-year-olds would enjoy that movie.
no,
I
they'd
think they'd be
probably
like,
walk
no,
away.
like we have standards.
It's like,
Like,
listen, this is trash. We don't watch this. Because I know they had a TV show for a long time too.
yeah,
But that's
yeah,
gone. That's gone the way of the dodo.
yeah. I think that was like a sing-along show.
It was. That's what the Land Before Time became, is a sing
Yeah,
along. Because I know they added songs into the movies as they went on, and they weren't bad. They were good. They were cute, but they
because if I
weren't.
remember, I think that's what you'd mentioned. Like right before, like right as we were starting the movie, you were like, oh yeah, by the way, it turns into a musical at some point in the series. And I just kind of felt like we were on the roller coaster going up, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? This this is it for me."
It's
Okay,
like I've let you know. By the way, there's a very steep drop ahead of you.
yeah, and that's pretty much what it
But it's
was.
not bad at first. Like they make sense. Like they're lyrically sound. They're catchy. Like I still remember some of the songs from like the journey, from the one when they meet Chomper for the first time and all those ones. Like I remember those.
I'm
But
gonna take your word for it, but
they're
I
good. Like I'd say like I'm gonna go ahead and say 1 through 10 probably aren't bad.
but to get my Disney fix, I was trying to find some stuff, and all they had on Netflix, they have Pocahontas 2,
No,
and they have Mulan 2,
no,
and I'm like,
no.
yeah, I've
Did
never
you do
seen.
it?
No, but I'm thinking about it. It's kind of one of those things like, well, if it's part 2, then it's probably not as bad as like part 14 of something.
Right, but it's still part two of something that never wanted to have a second part.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
if
it
you
doesn't need a.
if we could wake up Walt Disney and tell him, hey, by the way, we went ahead and made Pocahontas too. He might lose his mind. He's like, what? He's like, why would you do that? Why would you go ahead? Just like with the Lion King, he probably would have been like, why? What? There was never an intention for there to be a second one. But I love Pocahontas. I don't want to see the second one.
You don't want to see the second
I'm
one.
going to now.
We have to at some point watch
Oh, this
Pocahontas
became a
2.
we thing. Okay, so
And
now I'm
well,
gonna
look,
suffer.
I have to draft somebody in to watch this with me. So
Just be like, hey, want to watch Pocahontas and Mulan? Sure. Yeah, the second one. Oh,
they're part 2.
I've I've already agreed to something I didn't want to do.
So do you want to watch Pocahontas and Mulan? And then you just say yes as they're finishing part 2. Yes.
Yeah, that's what's
Oh.
I mean, I never liked Mulan anyway.
You know what? I don't even
So
think I've actually seen the first Mulan. I've seen some
what?
songs from it, and I think I saw those on YouTube. That
I
that
like the numbers in the song. I just don't know if I don't know if I like the whole movie.
I don't think I've seen it. No, I know I've seen Pocahontas. I know I've seen that movie.
I watched that on the plane to Disney.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was the only person bound for Disney World watching a Disney movie on the plane. Because like the seats had all the movies, and I'm like, there's a bunch of them, so I'm like, oh, Pocahontas is on it. I'm gonna watch that.
Wait, now they had individual movies you could choose from?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been forever since I've been on a plane. I just remember them having like the one TV set and you'd plug in your earphone onto the
That
little.
does not exist on any plane anymore.
Jeez, it's been a while for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, because when I flew to Florida, like every seat had the screen, and that was on Delta. But then when I flew back, there weren't any.
Yeah, like I know I haven't flown since 9/11, so yeah, that was like 2001. So
That is about when it happened. Yes.
yeah.
That is.
So
It's about the
yeah,
time.
it was probably the 90s the last time I got on a plane.
Wow.
Yeah, I probably haven't flown since the
Are you ever
1990s.
gonna fly again?
I don't really like flying. Like I remember flying, but it was not an enjoyable experience. It's not something I think I'm eager to do. But would I do it again if I had to? Yes, I would. Yeah.
See, I used to be afraid of flying, and then I started like doing it more often in the past year. So I was like, you know what, this is fine. And then coming home from Florida, we I was watching The Conjuring 2, so I'm already spooked in the dark on a plane. I shouldn't have done that. I don't know why I did that. That was stupid of me. I'm stupid. And I take the headphone out for a minute, and this little boy goes, "Mommy, why hasn't the plane crashed?" And I go into like the worst panic ever, and like flashbacks of Lost start to happen, and it was the scariest thing.
See, for me, it's not even a fear. Like I'm not even afraid of flying. I've done it several times. It's just I think I just don't enjoy it. It's just not something I look forward to doing again. I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay, well after I after I sit through Pocahontas and Mulan with you, since now I have to do these things.
Part two.
I d- why? I don't there's I mean we're probably going to do that this week, right?
You never know, Shake.
I think we'll do that this week. And we'll also be starting Gears of War 4 this week,
Yes.
hopefully. From everything I've read, because apparently there were a lot of issues with the game when it came out, which is a little bit surprising, because they didn't really have a lot of issues with the other three.
Hmm.
But I mean, really, a Gears game hasn't come out in a long time. Like
It's been a while.
compared to how fast all the other ones released back to back, this is the longest wait in between that I've seen.
Well, yeah, but this is like new gen stuff, current gen stuff. So
Current gen, next gen business. I'm excited. We'll probably be starting that this week. I think all the major buggy issues they were having are fixed, and I feel like it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. At least for me. I know you weren't as attached. I you I know someone doesn't enjoy Gears as much as me when their favorite one is Judgment.
well, yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm just
But
saying, because that was your. I mean, I understand why you liked it. It is very fun. I liked that it was mission based and it was and then you had all these different challenges. But I think it's going to be an emotional roller coaster for me.
it might be.
I think you're just gonna make fun of it. And
I
that's
am not
fine.
going to make fun of it.
That's
Oh
fine.
my
You hurt my
God.
feelings all the time.
That is
That's
not
fine.
even true. What are you talking about?
And I know you played through the Mafia game.
Oh, yes, I played the Mafia 3 since we've last spoken.
Yep,
Yes.
you are the only person who has had anything nice to say about it.
Yeah, well, you know, people are what people are. So what have you heard about it?
Um, I've heard that it's very broken, that there is a lot wrong with the game, that it doesn't function very well, and that the what they call a story does not make up for how horrible the game plays.
Okay, well, I've already been very public as far as the bugs and such. I've
Mm-hmm.
called them out on that. I feel like the game could have used some more weeks of polish. The
They could have taken more
gameplay,
time.
I will say something non-spoilery, and that is the gameplay is actually pretty repetitive, but in my opinion, the story makes up for it tenfold. It's one of those games where the story is so interesting that I'm willing to put up with that element to get through it. Like for me, the order of these games really it always starts with part 2 for me. I think part 2 is the best of them. I really loved part 2. Part 1 is very dated gameplay. And
Well, I'm
by
gonna
that
be
I
doing
mean
that soon.
are you going to be doing that on PC or console?
I was torn, and after I bought it for the PS2, I regretted it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I played it on the original Xbox, and let me just say this. Um, the game was ported to consoles from the PC, and by ported, I mean, don't get me wrong. You can play this game. I
Oh
did it.
God, Razzle.
Listen. I beat it. I beat it on Xbox, the original Xbox. But here's the thing: you're going to get very frustrated with certain missions.
I don't get
Usually,
frustrated.
okay, fine, but there's gonna be a mission that you come to, Shake, and
You remember it?
anytime I remember this mission, all I'm gonna say about it is you'll be outside at some point. There might be some buildings on fire or something like that, and you're gonna have to start shooting some things. Now, the way they set up the gameplay is, if I remember right, both of your joysticks have to be used in order to aim your gun, so to speak. It's one of
What?
those games that like it's ported from like a keyboard mouse setup, and it's very awkward and clunky.
Damn it.
But having said that, the story in that game is good, and it makes you want to suffer through whatever gameplay issues there are. And that's why I'm like, with part 3, to me part 3 is a much easier game to play than part 1. Part 1 is very hard to play, especially I think nowadays, since we've moved on so far from what gameplay was like back then. And, I mean, the graphics are obviously very dated, but the story is still very good. To this day, I remember the way the story made me feel. But even having said that, I think the protagonist in part 1 is my least favorite protagonist, but the story is really good.
See, and I don't know, like when people are saying like the story doesn't make up for it, I'm a very story-driven player.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can suffer through a bad game. Like it can be a bad game, and as long as I'm enjoying the story, I will suffer through that game. Like
See,
it
Mafia
doesn't
3 isn't a bad game. It's not a bad game. It's just you do have to take your time with it. You do need to make sure you do everything in it. And yes, it can get very repetitive. Very repetitive. There isn't a whole lot of variety in the types of missions you do. There is some, but most of the time you're doing the same types of missions over and over and over again. And that's where the complaints come in. For me, it wasn't that big of a deal because I was enjoying it. I was having fun going around the world because it's kind of a redone version of the 1960s and such. But yeah, I mean, it's
It seems
fun.
like you got through it really quickly.
I probably did. I powered through it though, because that was
Would you say it's like an 8-hour game? Less than that, around that
no,
time?
it's more than that. It's
Oh, it's more than 8? Well, that's good.
yeah, it's more than 8. Like it's a good lengthy story. It really is. It's got some good stuff in there. I'm not going to say much about
Well,
it.
and don't they have characters from the past games too?
Yeah,
Because I think
there's a lot
that's
of
what
throwback.
drove me to want to play the first two
Yeah,
before I
I
did
could
it,
see.
because I wanted to make sure I knew everything, because I thought there was going to be callback.
Yeah, now having said that, do you have to play the first 2 to get it? No, but it does add something to it, I think, if you have played them.
Now, one thing I do want to ask you about is we had discussed the meeting system in that game
Yeah,
when you have to sit down with all your people.
yeah,
How were those decisions for you?
super easy,
What?
very fucking easy.
You
I
must hate
I
some
know.
of them.
No, I
What do
don't.
you hate?
I don't hate any of them. My whole thing was I was very fair with every last one of them. If I gave my word about something, I kept it. It wasn't hard for me.
Oh,
Like
wow. So you weren't even torn. You were like, I stick to my word.
yeah, that's pretty much how I played. And yeah, that was just my way of doing it. It wasn't hard for me. I never felt like there was an ethical or moral dilemma. I feel like they might have billed that a little incorrectly. Like I felt
They
like that
did, because
was.
I mean, you and I had both seen like it made it seem like there was gonna be a lot more. It was gonna be a lot harder, like
Don't
a
get me
lot.
wrong. Like if you try to screw people over, then yeah, they'll probably turn on you. Now, I didn't have anybody turn on me. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Like I didn't have anybody turn on me in
So
that game.
everyone's happy in your game.
Yeah, everybody was perfectly happy with me.
Damn.
I was a good boss, Shake. I
Now,
was
was
like
there
Vito
anything? Because I
Corleone.
know they can offer you things to have you
Yeah.
make certain decisions. Was there? Did that sway your decisions ever? Or were you like, no, this is what's best for you in this area?
Well, here's how it works, and this is the part where I'm like, it wasn't a hard thing. The way it works is this: like whenever you're deciding how to dole out these properties and such, because first of all, whenever you take over a property, you pick somebody to give it to. And there's usually, I think, 2 properties per territory. And so after you've given away both properties and you finish whatever storyline is associated with that territory, you can have a sit down. Now, I'll tell you how I played it. I played it by I went to because like at the very beginning of the game, I think you have access to like 3 territories, I think. And so what I did was I went from territory to territory, doling out the properties first. So I gave these two to the one guy, these two to the other guy, these two to the lady. And then when it came to, then I decided I'm going to finish off the storyline on each, and then I decided to have the sit down. So when I had the sit down, I would go ahead and have a sit down, and I'd give the territory to the person I gave those properties to. And then the next one, I gave them the territory that I'd already given the properties to. And then I gave this one the territory that I'd already given the properties to. But the thing is, like, they do offer you stuff, but it's not like it's nothing that you can't get at a later time. So it's kind of
Right.
like you have each card there. And I'm going to give you an example, like the types of things they have. Like one of them has a very useful skill, which is that they can teach you how to pick a lock without making any noise, which means that few people are going to see you sneaking in and breaking into a car and stealing it, and they're not going to call the police. Another person might have the ability to help you call off the cops for a minute so you can go do some stuff and no cops are going to mess with you for that full minute. Another one might have the ability to give you like an arms dealer who comes and shows up and like sells you arms, or another one has someone who can come and pick up your cash and then bank it for you. So they have all these things, but you can get all of those as you play the game.
Mm.
Now, if you want one of the super mega things they offer you, then yeah, you would have to favor that person. But for me, it was like, none of that stuff was worth it. I was like, no, I'm more of a story person here, and I want to be a good boss, so I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be, equal shares. That's how I played it. But yeah, you can play it a number of different ways and have drastically different results, but it wasn't hard. It wasn't like it was this moral, ethical
Because
dilemma
that's
that
how they
they.
made us feel it was going to be.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like before you go to the meeting, someone takes you aside and is like, hey, listen, if you give me that territory, then I'm going to back you on this, or I'm going to like
Right. Like
help
much
you
more
do
like
this.
intense
Yeah.
discussions. Like,
Or like, hey, maybe you and I should work together against these two, or something like that.
mm-hmm.
And like that's what I thought. That's where my mind is. But no, I wasn't thinking it was going to be something as simple like a simulation type thing. I was like, oh well, this is simple. So I don't even think I read most of the ones that they give to you. It's just
Wow.
that when I inherited it, I paid attention to what it was. I just wasn't bothered by it. I was like, no, I've already decided this is this person's territory, and this is theirs, and this is theirs, and that's how we're doing this. And yeah, so it wasn't hard. I
And
hate to break it to you, but and aside from that, that wasn't even the big part of the game. That was just kind of what it was. And then you have like the major storyline that's going on that I was far more interested in.
and do you like your main character?
I did. I liked Lincoln Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only protagonist I didn't like was in the first game, and that's all I'm going to say. I didn't like him. I didn't like him from the beginning, though. I'm not really spoiling anything when I say that. You can have your own judgments about him, but yeah.
Well, were they saying was it the first game or the second game like the protagonist isn't supposed to be a good guy? Or is
Well, I
that
don't think
this?
I don't think any of them are supposed to be quote
Well, no, like
unquote
you're
good
not
guys.
supposed to like one of them. Maybe it's the first game. Or
Now
maybe
that
it's
I
the
don't
guy in
know.
the second one. I mean, I'm
I
gonna be
I don't
finding
know.
out
I
soon
don't know.
anyway, so it doesn't
I,
really matter.
yeah, I mean, just play through them and then you can come to your own judgments about it. After you play the first game, I'll tell you exactly why I hated that character.
All right.
Some people like him. Some people like
I'm
him,
gonna
but
be doing it soon because I just gotta finish this Assassin's Creed game and then I can start it. Probably
you can
hate
analyze them.
play it, but
No, I mean it's you're gonna love playing Mafia because it's a really good game. It's just dated so badly. Like it was even dated when I played it years ago.
oh
So
my god, I'm gonna suffer so hard.
yeah, I mean just the first one though. The first one because of the controllers, because of the way they set it up. It is what it is.
And that's fine. I'll suffer through it. What are your thoughts on Battlefield 1?
I don't know too much about it other than I know that it takes place in part World War One.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have. I played Battlefield 4 when it was on the Xbox One's program on the EA Access because I had access to it for that 1 month, and so I remember playing a lot of that. It was a fun game, but but that's all. That's I don't really have much else to say. I don't really know I don't know much about Battlefield 1 or whatever it's called.
I watched a bunch of it last night.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't look away. It is so fucking beautiful, Razzle. It's a really really pretty game, and there's like I was watching the campaign because chances are I'm not gonna hold an interest in multiplayer
Right.
because I never do. Um, but the campaign is like you go through I think 5 or 6 different war stories, all from different parts of the world, different people.
Hmm.
Like first one I watched took place in Italy, and then the second one was a bunch of Australians and New Zealanders, and they're all completely different stories that you're kind of like living through these wars with these people. And yeah, it's a shooter, and you have to do all that stuff, but like I couldn't stop watching them because the stories were so good. And I had to walk away because I was afraid I'd see how one ended, and I was like, I don't want to see, I don't want to know. But I ended up seeing the ending of another one anyway, so I kind of hurt myself there. But like, I don't know if I want to spend $60 for a 6-hour campaign.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like even Call of Duty games have campaigns that are sort of set up like that, where you play multiple characters over the course of a campaign or whatever.
Yeah, but those ones aren't good.
Well, have you ever played them?
Yes.
Really? Which ones?
Which one I had 2 different games. One of them was a newer one, and then I had one from like 7 years ago or 6 years ago. I don't
I
know.
remember.
I had an older one and then one that's fairly recent, within the past 4 years.
Okay, well, I haven't played much of the newer ones, I will say. I got into the Call of Duty campaigns because I loved World War II stories. So that's why I played, like, I know I played part 2 and part 3, and even I think it was World at War or something like that. It was one of the last World War II ones they had, and they had a lot of celebrities in it, including Sirius Black, as I call him now.
That would be
But
Gary Oldman. That'd be Gary Oldman.
But yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, I could totally see why you would want to play it, because if it's anything near the caliber, I imagine Battlefield is much better, because because I remember part 4, it was actually a pretty intense story that had
Well,
a
I
lot of
guess
emphasis on it.
it's people from the team that had done Battlefront. Half of them split off and worked on Battlefield 1.
Now, if only they would do that kind of love to a Battlefront game and make a campaign-based Battlefront game, then that would be awesome.
It looks so much better than Battlefront.
Well, yeah,
It is
obviously.
It is so pretty. Like it is like their faces look so fucking real. It looks really good, but I'm just torn if I want to spend $60 on something I'm only gonna get like maybe 8 hours of play out of.
See, for me, I will play the game, but I'm probably going to wait till it's on like EA Access or something like a year from now. So I can just rent it with a bunch of other games. And that way, if I don't enjoy it, I can play something else. Or if I finish it real fast, I can play other games during that month. But yeah, and that's my thoughts on Battlefield, whatever it is right now. Battlefield 1, is that what they're calling it for real?
Yes.
Okay, it's just weird calling it that when I finished Battlefield 4 or whatever, but
Well,
okay.
this is 1. We're going back to the roots.
And I do need to mention something, because
What?
we opened on it and we didn't really talk about it, but that's
What
that
was it?
Rockstar today announced that Red Dead Redemption
Oh yeah,
Part
we went
2.
into something else.
Yeah, we went right into Wizarding World of Harry Potter, but the Rockstar has announced Red Dead Redemption Part 2
Yes.
is a reality. They've registered Red Dead Online. I mean, I right now am very, very excited. So it's looking like it'll be fall of 2017.
Yep.
Which gives them plenty of time to show a lot of cool stuff about it over the next year. And I am really, really, really excited about it. I'm looking forward to this game.
There's a lot of talk about them possibly going heavier on the multiplayer route.
It makes sense, because I remember Red Dead Redemption was one of the first games they did that had a really interesting concept for the online. And then from there, they kind of really worked on the Grand Theft Auto stuff. So for me, to have them focus on online is perfectly fine. I would like for them to have a decent storyline in there too, and I'm pretty sure they will.
Yeah, people are worried that they won't
No, they
spend
will.
enough time on the single player.
Nah, I mean, I think they will, but I don't think there'll be like a lot of expansions for it. I think anything that comes after will be for the online, which I'm actually fine with because I played Red Dead Online, like the Red Dead Redemption stuff online a lot, and it was very bare bones. There was hardly anything to do. I just enjoyed riding around on a horse from town to town and just shooting things up, going on brief missions. So I can only imagine all the stuff they could have in this new game, and I'm
Right.
perfectly fine with it. I'll enjoy playing Red Dead Online. So
Yeah, I mean, from what it seems, it's going to be a prequel.
yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
looks like. It's going to
I
be a
think that's what they're
prequel
saying.
that takes place in the same area, but like I think a little bit to the east is what
Well,
I
I mean,
was reading earlier.
I imagine it would have to be a prequel because the first game took place in like 1911 or 1901 or something. So I'm hoping they would go back to the 1800s to do a western.
Well, it's not like you could go too much farther forward without leaving that era
Right,
entirely.
you're
Like
almost in the 20s,
right, you
and
have to get away from it because it's leaving.
because
It's not going to be there much longer.
you're heading into the first Mafia game at that point. So
Right.
you know,
When we were getting away from Cowboys. See, and now that they're making that, I have to play the first one.
yes, you do.
Yeah,
My
I've never
God.
played it.
It is such a great game. Like if heavy on story, love the story. The characters are very awesome. The gameplay the gameplay is great to this day. And but the other thing about it is well actually what I was actually going to mention was how somebody online had written an article about how they should make Red Dead modern. And I was
Huh?
that's Grand Theft Auto. What
Right.
what the
I mean,
fuck
because
are
I
you
haven't
talking
played it, but
about?
I know enough about it that it's a time period game. It is supposed to take place in a certain time.
It's a fucking Western. How do you,
Yeah.
why would you even think about turning that into a
I mean, if
modern
we
game?
make it modern, it is GTA.
Yeah, it is.
That's, I mean, that's it.
Which makes me wonder, like, with Mafia, like, I'm wondering if, like, the next game would be the 70s. If so, that I'm really looking forward to when Mafia goes into the 80s. Oh my
I mean, in
God.
the 80s, is anything gonna matter? Like,
Are you kidding me? That was a great, that's like Scarface territory. That's GTA Vice City territory. That's gonna
that was in
be,
the 80s?
yeah, that was based in the 80s.
Oh, well then never
Yeah,
mind.
like the music, the fashion, the cars. I love the 1980s, so I think that a Mafia game in the 80s would be great. It
Well,
would
they're
just be
working towards it
golden.
because aren't we in the 60s now or 70s?
Yeah, yeah,
60s, yeah.
we're making our way through the 1900s. That's what I love about the Mafia series is that they go from decade to decade to decade, and they just keep on trucking along.
Yeah, because right now they're at the fall of the Italian mob.
Yeah,
Because this is when that all starts to crumble and it goes away. But I mean, it's still there. If I did not realize that movie came out in the 80s, I didn't realize that was like an 80s thing. So
oh
that'll be
yeah,
cool if they do that. I'm
oh
down with that.
yes, yes it will.
God, and you bringing up Vice City, I fucking loved that game.
Yeah, that was the Grand Theft Auto game that got me into Grand Theft Auto. Like
Same.
that was the one. Like when I heard about that game, I was like, "Oh, I want that one." Because at that point, I remember I'd watched some people play GTA 3 and I thought it was amazing. Like just watching what people could do. Because before that, and this is so important to emphasize, there were games, no games were like that at the time. I just remember being amazed at how big that world was. I was like, "Are you kidding me? You can get into any car and just walk around, and you can get out of the car and walk around. And you can go anywhere and go see pedestrians.
I can get on a
Like,
boat. What?
yeah, like all of this crazy stuff, and like stuff today we all take for granted, but at that time it was like, are you kidding me? So when I
Hmm.
heard they were bringing that into the 80s with Vice City, that was the one that I first got. I was like, yeah, I'm getting this one because I didn't
Yeah.
really. I mean, whenever you play Vice City and then you play GTA 3, it's like, wow, everything's so limited in GTA 3. But Vice
GTA
City,
3 also looks so dull compared to Vice City. Like
oh
if
yeah,
you just look
compared
at
to
the
it, yeah.
games, like if you compare them, like Vice City is just like popping with color. Everything is so much more vibrant, and then 3 is like just dead.
And what I loved about that console generation is that you could use custom soundtracks back then. Because you can't do that on the modern stuff. But like back then, like you could have a custom soundtrack for your car. So you would like switch the radio station over to your CD or whatever.
Yes.
And you would listen to your own music as you were writing through the game. That was great.
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff. Like I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna listen to this.
I
That
remember
was that was fun.
I put the Godfather soundtrack on there once, and I was listening to the Godfather theme as I was driving to do a kill. It was just,
Oh my God.
it was fun.
Did you ever play that game?
Which game?
The Godfather game.
Oh, yes, I did. I played both of them. I played Godfather and Godfather
I
2.
didn't play the second one, but I played the first one and loved it. Even though like so many people shit on it, I had so much fun playing that game.
I loved it too. Like I loved the fact that it worked in the film so great, like
Yes.
so well. And it was like you were just following along, and they did it so cleverly so that your character really feels like he's a part of what's happening in the films. And but the second one is less that. The second one's more like you go make territories and then claim territories. And it's actually very similar to Mafia 3 in that way, except Mafia 3 has a much better storyline going on. But yeah, Godfather 1 was great.
It was
I loved
it was a
Godfather.
fan service game. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is such a great game. And so many people would be like, oh no, like I don't really like it. I think it's kind of lame. And I'm like, well, I love it.
Like I still remember how that game opens because like Vito comes, like you're just a kid, and like Vito comes up because I think your dad dies or he gets killed
In front of you, I believe. Yeah,
Vito's like,
it's very
I'm
Batman.
gonna offer you a job or something one day. You know?
And it's like, listen, I'm a grieving child. You
And
son of a bitch.
He actually did the voice work for that game because that was before he died. He actually came in and did voice work for that character. So did I can't think of his name right now, but Sonny, my favorite character.
James Caan.
Yes.
Yep, James
That was my
Caan.
favorite character, and he came in and he
loved
did voice
Sonny
work.
so fucking much.
The only problem was he sounded so old as Sonny.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's significantly older.
To me, it reminded me of the Ghostbusters game when they got the cast back. The only guy in there who sounded ancient, sadly, was Bill Murray. Like it felt like he was phoning it in. Like everybody else sounded exactly like themselves, but when Bill was there because I know Bill can still sound like his old self because I've heard him do it, but he was just phoning it in. Like he was doing it so mellow that you could tell he had aged.
He probably didn't give a shit.
I don't think he did, but
like,
it was
honestly, I don't think Bill Murray gave a shit anymore.
It was a
just
miracle
like,
they got him. I mean, it would have only been a bigger miracle if they got Rick Moranis to come back, but that's almost impossible. So, take what you can get.
Yeah, but I remember playing it and thinking how like I thought it looked really good. It probably doesn't anymore because I haven't played it since it came out, but I remember thinking, wow, they look so good. Everybody looks like how they looked. Everything looks right. This place looks right. And then like the movie scenes, I was like, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That was The Godfather's a great game if you're a fan of the movies.
Yes.
If not, I don't know how you're going to feel about it. You might still like it. You might not give a shit. But if you're a fan of the movies, you will fall in love with that game. I think you still would now.
I would hope so.
It's still a really good game, I think.
I imagine it's severely dated because I haven't played it in so long.
I haven't either, but I would think I would still love it.
Was that the original Xbox or was that 360?
Oh, that game. I'm pretty sure that was the original Xbox.
Then yeah, it's probably dated up pretty badly, but at the time it was great. I remember every mission in that game. Like even when you're like with Luca Brasi and you're going to go beat up those guys they talk about at the beginning of the movie.
Luca.
Yeah, and so like everything. Like I remember the hospital stuff where you're out there helping, and how you have to like drive the car.
Yeah,
everything was.
That game was that was a great game. I don't think that game got like I don't think that game like really was out there. Like I don't feel like a lot of people knew about that game.
I read about it on a couple of gaming sites. That's actually the first I heard about it. It was either GameSpot or one of those types of sites that had an article written about it. And I was like, oh, wow, they're making a Godfather game. And so I started following it.
And so it did get coverage. With all of that said, we have to actually wrap the podcast up. It's going to be a little bit short this week because we're having some technical issues. We'll actually probably be able to catch it a little bit in the podcast, even though I try to do my due diligence and get a lot of the stuff out. But we're going through some problems with it, and I know we were gone for a couple weeks there, vacations and everything, and the week before we had more technical issues. So, yeah, turns out it happened again this week. So we're just trying to get that figured out, trying to see what we can do to fix it. So it's a little bit shorter this week. Not too much of what we talked about got cut out. So we're pretty good. But I'm sorry for the abrupt ending. You can email us at theprattlecast@gmail.com. Leave us a message at speakpipe.com/theprattlecast. All the episodes are uploaded to YouTube, as well as iTunes, cell phones, whatever. Our Twitter is the same as everything else. It's the Prattlecast. Our personal Twitters are at ShigzillaTV and at Razzle_Dazzles. We stream together every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yes, we are back this week. This Friday, we are hopefully playing Gears of War 4, as we talked about. Barring there's no issues with the game, I think everything's set, but hopefully we're doing Gears of War 4. If not, we'll be finishing up some Saints Row. So I think we're all looking forward to that because it's been almost 2 months since we've done that. But again, I'm sorry for the shorter podcast and any interruptions you may catch or hear. We're doing our best to fix it with the time that we have. So thank you for listening. Be nice to each other.